Okay, I've not knocked a video out for over 2 weeks. I have not messed around with narration here. I've just pressed record, so it's not going to be one of my best videos. It's just something for you to fill your time in. When you look at this bell, look, I don't know how much it weighs, but what do you think it would take to actually lift something like that up and then put that huge bar over the top and actually put the pin in? Do you know how much the pin would weigh and what kind of friction and pressure there would be to actually put that pin through there and seal that bell, right? Now I don't know if this site is buried, like this could be the top of some building. I'm going to show you what it's actually made of down the sides. This thing is unbelievable. Now, when you look at the top left-hand corner, you can see what seems to be metal framing, which it would have to be if you look down the right as well. It does look like there is wood there, but you would definitely need metal framing to take such weight as this. Now, another thing, where was this thing cast? How did they get it there? Because at the moment, in modern times, you've got people walking around in their underpants, and then you're looking at something so advanced. And how would this bell ring? Because it can't swing, can it? If you look at how it's been fixed, it doesn't swing. So it's obvious to me that there must have been some type of device that's underground that moved some sort of caliper, is it? Yeah. So that will be on some heavy machine just to make this thing ring. It's unbelievable. I'm telling you, there has to be an entire city. You can look around. You can't get much from this picture, but it's all buried. So when I went over this site in Ostia, Rome, I didn't go into fine detail. I've since watched it. Now, unlike the Egyptians and everywhere else where they say that everything is either a temple or a tomb, you know what I think to that. With the Romans, everything is a bathhouse, isn't it? But when you look at this, I can tell you that archaeologists have built this to the narrative that they think that they should be building this. It will have all been in rubble on the floor. I can tell you that the things that they call toilets are indeed cast concrete, right? Now, I just like to look at things to see how they're built, to weigh up how advanced their civilization was. But I can tell to prove that they were cast, if you look at where I put the arrow, the orange and red arrow, you can see underneath it's corrugated, right? So it's got a pattern underneath that nobody sees, so they don't go there. But if you can imagine the way that they've set it up, because they reckon that you will get about 10 people in here all sitting side by side or wiping their asses, right? But if you put any weight on that, it will collapse. Look at it. Yeah, they've fixed it to the wall themselves, but if you look at the wall where the bricks have fallen away, that is definitely some type of cladding. It almost looks like rebar to me. Yeah, rebar and concrete, and then the bricks have gone on the outside. So I'm showing you this site again. I didn't show you this one because it's small. It's a little bit blurred. If you look at the back end of this site at the top, it almost looks like some type of modern day factory. Anyway, what the arrows are pointing to, you will see 11 blobs. They almost look like what the chulpas is in Peru, this. And they are definitely lined up with the square holes that you see everywhere around that, as if there was some kind of connection maybe to build the flooring, the lower floors onto, and hold the roof up. I think that's all they were for. Even this is an advanced building, but I'm getting on about the blocks here, right? Because I told you that the bottom sections had solidified probably in some flood. it wasn't done by two different civilizations. I'm going to show you that, because when you look at this wall above where I'm saying that they've solidified, you can see you've got a large screen. You will see definite shapes, very similar in size and shape, interlocking blobs. Right, I did show you this artifact, this wall, about how everything had been smothered over it, whether it were concrete or some type of mud over a wooden frame. It's the beams that I'm showing you here which have petrified from saturation. You see the beams that are sticking out. It's leading on to what I'm showing you next in this next image. What I've drawn the red lines into, it's the site at the levee. I made a video on it. I will zoom in onto it. You can see a definite square section which runs down the wall, right, which is leading onto this roof here, where these square holes run into each other. I'm not giving you an example because I've done it already, but the reason why they line up with each other is because it will, you know how you would build a flat roof today. You would build like a wood frame before you put your felt, you know, something like a felt, so, some plaster, and then you would put some felt over it, and then it's petrified. I'm only showing you that because this next image I haven't shown you before. The thing that I am pointing at is actually spectacular because it's another case of petrification. What you're looking at there is something extremely modern, right? What I've wrote in there is that they could have only have been something like a plastic clip, right, which would have had to have snapped into position to hold this thing in place. I've given you an example there. It's the only way, but a good example of how things petrify. So this is the site at Machu Picchu on top. Everybody's seen this particular area is about the best preserved. It's, if you look at the part that's sticking out there, I mean, why would somebody think that that would be carved like that? Makes no sense, does it? Now, everybody here understands mud rock and how things will harden if left long enough. Can point a few things out, but there's just no need to. Like this next image, I've shown you this, what is obviously once a wooden beam. I've shown you one in Israel, which is it's not saturated even in clay and minerals. It's just become completely petrified in the way that everybody thinks that trees petrify, you know, with all the colours. But there are many ways in which wood will petrify, which, when I pointed you to the channel Hangman 1128 just very recently, everybody saw that for what it was. And you know, anyway, these circular wooden beams at the top on either side, there's 4 of them. When you look at this thing, I'm telling you, I now believe that this was once a wooden constructed site. 100% it was all just a wooden house, you know, like a homestead, like we'd build in the woods, right? And when you compare, if you was to compare how those things are built and look at the corners, right, and how they crisscross, they are exactly the same people. They've just cracked over time as they petrified and turned into mud rock. Every single piece on here is built exactly the same as a homestead. It's only the lower sections where you've got these large blocks that makes one think that, you know, they were huge blocks lifted into position, but it's just where it's been smothered in something. and that particular area hasn't moved as much as the rest, so it's had time to settle and harden into something like a block, and the outlines of it will be exactly where one of the beams were. This is on top of Machu Picchu, and they will tell you that this has been carved in this shape, but if you look at the beam that's nearest you, where there's been calcification, you can see something underneath it, which is a wooden frame from the house that I've just been talking about. It is in fact probably the roof that eventually fell free as everything petrified and just cracked away. It is part of the roofing that I've just shown you. This artifact, I'm not actually sure where it is. It could even be from Pumapumku, yes. Anyway, sorry about that, but if you look at the holes at the end, they just look exactly the same as something like a where you put a bar and it will turn. If you look, you can see like a circular corner, and then the beam goes inside, and it will turn. I will put a example in the bottom right hand corner. This thing here though, I just put in a music video full of, like tunnels and what they call cart ruts, which about 5% of them are. And the red lines that I've drawn in there basically look like something off the film Prometheus. Prometheus, yes, the starship, the way that thing is built. That's exactly what it looks like. You're looking at something of how a dam is constructed. Just huge metal girders, huge metal interconnecting pieces. It's the imprints of. I will zoom in slightly for you. It is unbelievable. Not many of you will see, will see what I've seen here. But if you're lucky enough to be able to see it, it is unbelievable. And it's just imprints in mud and mud rock, like this thing here, which was some girder, the same way that you construct a tower, something like the Eiffel Tower. Anyway, the video that I made on the inside of the Great Pyramid, there was a section, and I just showed you this area here for about 10 seconds. Since I watched it, and then I realised what was surrounding this tunnel area. And again, you can see the imprints of girders, what went into constructing this thing. I've done a side-by-side comparison for you. So we're coming up to the end of the video, and at the end of the last video I showed you a series of walls that I tried to prove to you that they weren't built in blocks, huge cut out blocks just to try and fit together. For one thing, they will tell you that they were built like this to withstand earthquakes and make them hardier, but it is stupid really. Look, it would render them weaker. Things have to be built with clay, like some type of framing. You can't just build something with cracks all over it, because they will fall to pieces, right? But in most cases it is why from earthquakes and frost, why they have cracked in the way that they have. And I showed you this wall here, and there is absolutely no doubt at all that this wall has cracked in the way what you're looking at. Now I don't know if it was again some type of inner framing, whether metal or wood, and then smothered in clay like they do today, or it's just happened over time from being submerged, calcification, build up from being underwater, or some huge wave has come in, smothered it in mud, and I'm not sure, but I can tell you that every single piece that you're looking at is interlocking because they have cracked like that, and I can prove it to you. Because the example that I've just put in on the left hand side is another wall in Peru somewhere, and the indentation that is the exact same shape as our drain pipes today, because that is indeed what it was, even so much as the trough at the top, which interconnects to your drain pipes along the edge of your roof, and then they go into the trough, and then you connect that down the pipe that goes down your wall into the drain. Yes. Now that indentation was not somehow smoothed out perfectly to connect a drain pipe to the wall, was it? No, it wasn't. So the reason why the blocks alongside it are rounded is what I'm always talking about here. It's calcification, it's leaching from whatever it was made from, like concrete. The lime will leach out, and it just becomes wider, or from being submerged underwater. But there's no doubt in what you're looking at. It is a drain pipe. It was not smoothed out like that. This image here, if you actually look at the wall, you can see where a flat edge tool has been smothering, has been smearing a surface onto this wall, right? Which proves to you that these again are not blocks cut out in some stupid shape to interconnect to each other. They've cracked in frost and earthquakes. That's all it is, people. Right, these next two images here are the end of the video, and I have got no idea where they're from. I can tell you that this first image has been shown on many channels such as mine. I don't know where it is. I don't know if it's new, it's been made to look like this, but either way, even if it is, it goes back into the surfacing, the videos I've been making on surfacing, the Zolatone paint spray, enamel, things like that, right? It is in Peru, I can tell you that. I have pointed out a few areas that make it suspicious, at least, because to me, I do think that this thing has been made from wood, pieces of metal, and it's been sprayed in something to make it look like the Inca or the Mayans or whoever they were have carved this out of some rock wall, right? That's about the best I can say to you. This next image, I Again, I don't know where it's from. If it is ancient, then if you look at the areas that I've pointed out, then obviously they will have been, at one time, they will have had to have been shored up with iron steel girders as they work their way through this tunnel. It might be that they are excavating this area. In fact, I would say that they are, and the reason for that is if you was excavating an area out like this, you would not be sending people in, right, especially with today's health and safety, right, without shoring this area up, right. So you can see where iron girders went all the way around this thing, which have rusted away. You just seen the imprints of. That's why I think this is ancient, and that's about all I'm going to say on this.